Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another. You know what? I don't know if I like to call these when it comes to free thinkers. I don't know if I like to call it an episode or edition or installment. I think it's just a gathering. Welcome to another gathering of free thinkers. You know who I am by now. My name is Q. Nikki will be on soon, and free thinkers is a discussion group and page where we talk about things that are controversial and things that people feel like you shouldn't talk about. Anything that people say that you shouldn't talk about, I'm like, ooh, let's talk about that. Let's have a conversation. So we've been doing this for a while. So if you are watching, wherever you may be watching, you can catch us on our Facebook page. That's where we have our discussions throughout the week. And that's where we also you can catch the link if you want to get on live with us. So if you want to get on live with us, if you're watching from YouTube or if you're watching from Facebook, go to our Free Thinkers page and the link will be listed in there. Keep in mind when you get on, make sure you got some type of headphones or earbuds. So that keeps the background noise down, and make sure that you get somewhere quiet. If you got dogs barking or kids yelling or TV in the background, we serious about our conversation. So make sure that
Thank you for that.
we want to
Because
make sure
I be barking and complaining about that freaking background noise. It's
yeah,
almost like when back in the day when you would call the radio station and the fucking radio was still on. Like you gotta turn it down.
people
Like
don't know that. You have to tell
no, yes you do.
they don't understand what it actually does because they want to hear themselves. And so I used to be on the radio.
Of
I
course
DJ
you
for
do.
a couple years. They're like, yeah, that you hear the screeching noise in
And
the back.
you hear you in the background all muffled and echoed.
Yeah. So yeah, just keep the background noise down. Also keep in mind that we will have adult content and adult language. So just keep that in mind wherever you are and whoever you are listening in front of. Now, as always, I feel like saying blah, 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 blah. But I still have to say it. Make sure that you like, follow, and share. It's just the way it is. We got some really good stuff, and if you think it's worth anything and other people should hear it, then or let me even say it like this from another angle. If you feel the type of content and conversations that we have should be more prevalent in your social circles, if you are tired of the same type of conversations and the same media driven propaganda, then find ways to promote that which you want to encourage, that type of dialogue. And this is a good dialogue, and this is a good thing to encourage, even if it's you sharing, liking, following it we know what you know what, ooh, I want to have a conversation in the near future about the algorithms. I think that because I have mixed feelings about it. I was thinking about that the other day, but we get to that in another time. I want to have a conversation about algorithms.
Okay.
Is it the devil or is it a godsend? I don't
know. Man, it's like anything else,
feelings.
right? It works when it works, but when it don't, it's like, man, I don't like them anymore. Oh, look, and who's the main one with all that background? Come on now. We just talked about that.
Behind me?
Yeah, Mr.
Not behind you.
Mr. I know you know better.
We just heard the feedback from us talking. So yeah, I think that
AI conversation would be good, and it's kind of like we talked or algorithm conversation, and I would like for us to lead that into at some point the AI conversation and just our feelings about what's happening or what's going to become the norm when it comes to AI of any sort, be it illustration, be it music, be it models, be it.
I think me and you had this conversation a few months ago, did we? When we got into our deep God conversation in the afterlife, and I think we kind of talked about artificial intelligence to some degree.
I'm pretty sure there's also a Black Mirror episode.
And we talked about white people that day too. We talked about where white people come from. That was a very good. I need to go back and watch. That was one of my favorite conversations.
That was a good conversation. Where do white people come from? I love that one.
That was a good one. I
It was
enjoyed that.
a good one.
Matter of fact, I'm gonna go back and watch that now.
Because really, I don't feel like anybody's giving me a sufficient answer. Like you know what I'm saying? Like everybody kind of has
you
like
a perfect answer.
I don't. But one has to subscribe to those theories for it to make sense.
That's not a theory. No, what the answer I gave you is not a theory. And not only is it not a theory, it's based in basic ration 101.
Well, you know,
just basic. You don't even have to be deep into science or rational. I mean, just the basic stuff. But anyway, okay, so let's get into the conversation that we're talking about tonight. Maybe I don't think we're gonna get into the AI thing. That's on our back burner.
No, because I want to be able to dedicate like some time and space to that. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so we'll just nix that. So even if we run out of our first two, then we'll go a different direction.
I think with these two topics in combination, I definitely think we're gonna give us a good conversation.
I always think ahead. I'm prepared just in case.
just in case. Tito, well, thanks for coming to the show tonight. It should be interesting conversation.
And that's one of the things also, even when like whenever we end a show, whether we be doing a debate or just like at the coffee shop or whatever, even the stuff, even if we was only talking about one particular subject, I might only get to like 7 or 8 questions, but I had like 20 questions on deck. I make sure I always have enough ammunition, like just in case. I don't know how fast we're gonna run through them, depending on how many people. If it's just me, then I can talk about 20 different things. So I come, and that's listen. I gotta do a class. I already got it written out. I'm gonna do a class. I'm gonna teach people how to do some podcasting and moderating. And it's I have formulas.
See, when I make lists with 20 questions and a million different thought points, we go so deep into the conversation, I barely can even pull up my notebook. I'm like, damn, I didn't get to hit none of these points unless I can wiggle them in there somewhere. But there's so many times I'll look at my notebook after we end and I'm like, I missed all this.
Number one, that's okay. Number two, like I said in a previous podcast, you want a good moderator. As long as the conversation stays on subject, don't try to dictate where it goes. Let the conversation go where it goes. As long as it's still on subject, just let it go where it goes, and be able to adjust within that. That's one of the conversations I had when y'all severely scrutinized one of our free thinkers, and I ain't seen them since. But that was one of the things.
That really scrutinizing people.
What was that about?
It was brutal, but that was one of my things. Like you can't. I learned that a long time ago. Don't try to force the conversation to end in a certain landing spot that you want it to. You can pose the questions.
That definitely happened in that conversation.
Yeah, exactly. Based upon the answers and reactions, then that's the direction that you go. That's where people's minds or hearts and thoughts are towards. And don't try to dictate it based upon how you see it and where you think it should go. I think you get the most out of a conversation when you do that.
Sorry, I think I unsubconsciously think about that conversation more than I think about that conversation.
Hold on. You said unsubconsciously.
I do, because as I'm thinking about it, I don't think I actively go back to that, but I definitely feel like when I think about conversations with other people, I think about the dynamic of that and the flow of that and how.
You're talking about, but that particular.
Well, just how the person was not going to rest until their angle was met. And that just wasn't going to happen in that particular conversation. But nothing that was given was heard by that person either. So I think about that in how you meet somebody where they are when it comes to having a conversation with somebody. So I think that even in the roastiest of situations, I think that we still do a pretty damn good job of meeting people where they are. It just might not always go the way that you want it to go.
And then let me say this also, that I was doing a show on High IQ yesterday,
Okay.
with Ivory.
For the priorities last night, is that what y'all
It was
did?
about triggers.
Oh, triggers. That's right. Okay. Okay.
And one of the things I talked about is one of my triggers is when people, and TW, you probably can vouch for this too, when people disrespect or are inconsiderate of your craft and skill. You think I'm just up here talking a bunch of ish. It's levels to this. I have a method to everything that I do when I'm coming. And yeah, okay, it's cool that I make it seem easy and then make it seem like I'm off the fly. I am very calculated in what I do. And if you think you can just jump on here and just start talking and hold a conversation for an hour and a half, okay, go ahead and try it. But what I will say is that was one of my triggers. Don't ish on me like I'm not doing nothing, or you try to belittle there's an art to this, and I've been doing this for a long time. And when I feel that you lack the respect that's deserved, it does trigger me. And yeah, I've acknowledged that's one of those things that can trigger me. And there's been times in the past where I'm like, yo, what we not gonna do? After, some learning lessons, I'm like, yo, I tell you what ain't about to happen again. I can tell you that for sure. But that was another thought. But anyway, that has nothing to do with what we're talking about today. Go ahead.
It's still a great conversation. And that's a segue. I mean, that's what we are. That's who we are. That's what we do. Like, that's kind of what you can expect here. It's somebody asked me recently, they're like, what is free thinkers? I'm like, you tell me. When you hear the word free thinkers, like, what does that feel like to you? What does it sound like to you? That's usually how I respond to anybody who asks me what free thinkers is. So when I have my hoodie on or my t-shirts on, and people are like, oh, that's a cool picture. What is that? I'm like, what's it sound like to you? So I like what you said in the beginning about, if you like having, mentally stimulating conversations outside of the dumb thought box that is social media, like, this is a great little Tuesday night, back in the day, I used to call it my church. Gotta go to church on Tuesday night. So we were meeting, at the coffee shop. So I think that tonight's conversation will be good. I think it'll go along with, all the other open, free thinking, conversations that we do have. I'm looking forward to tonight. Hopefully we'll get some more men and women. I was hoping we get some married couples to join us on this, because I'm really curious to hear how married people feel about this topic versus maybe not married people, or people that had good or bad experiences. So I think it's going to be a great conversation. And if you're curious to what we're referencing, it's on the Facebook page. It's pinned at the top, where you can have the invite for where the invite for tonight is at. Also in the comments, there is some of the videos that we're going to be referencing tonight. So just FYI, if you want to go take a look at what we are talking about.
Take a look too. Yeah.
What? If you want to go ahead and shoot it, let's get it going.
No, you presented it to me. So you go ahead and start it off.
So Denise had posed on, was it Denise? Oh no, I think maybe I actually posted it. Denise had posted something different I was referring to, but I think Denise replied to it. There's a video going around of this 69-year-old man who.
Oh, you went to the other one first. You going to that one first?
You want to do what? Wait, what did I say we were doing? Oh, work. Okay.
Work husband,
We'll go work wife, work husband first. Sorry, I went backwards. Work wife, work husband. This actually came from Cynthia and I were out one night, and we were at a bar, and this was an establishment that I know quite of the people that work there and the owner. So it's like it's like family, right? So we go, we're having a good time, and we overhear a conversation of some people that that or at least that I know pretty well use the term work wife, and I've heard it be used numerous times, right? But as I thought about the relationship in which the person who mentioned being a work wife was referring to, I was like, ooh, I don't know how I would feel if I was his real wife.
Right.
And this lady at my husband's job is referring to herself. And he also agrees, referring to her as his work wife. I sat with that for a little bit, and me and Cynthia were really quiet for a little bit. I think both of us were having to think about it at the same time. Like, how do I feel about that? And we both came to the conclusion almost simultaneously. I think it both hit us at the same time that it was like, no, no. We're not doing work wife or work husband. That don't work for me. And we've had this conversation once before, way back in the yellow house, way back in the coffee room days, in the yellow room. We've had this conversation about work wives and work husbands because you posed, a pretty accurate scenario that
I did.
Yeah, because you're like me. You're like, you have never really worked in an environment where you've had a slew of coworkers or the potential to have a work husband. Whereas you've worked in huge organizations and corporations, and there's hundreds, sometimes thousands of employees. So you have access to a whole different environment professionally than I really have had my whole entire life. So I can't even get down with the theory of a work wife or a work husband. And maybe that is because of how I work and where I come from, but I don't care if there's 150,000 employees or not. I don't think work wife or work husband would ever work for me. That would not be something I would be okay with.
Double. Let me ask you.
What's up?
How do you view the term work wife, work husband? Like, what do you, before we go into any of this, what do you think, like, what does that mean to you? What's the description of a work wife or a work husband?
I think in the most basic, innocent term of it is somebody you work with who's a good friend of yours at work. Like, I wouldn't say y'all share, it could grow to share personal stuff, but I think in the beginning, maybe it's somebody who you vibe with, like somebody who likes the same music, somebody who might have grown up in Austin with you. Y'all might have some kind of connection. So y'all are really cool, but I think I'm with Nikki on that one. That when you start putting the wife and the husband on the end of it, then that makes it out of bounds. That makes it a whole nother thing, because to a lot of people, the word wife and husband are very strong terms.
Yeah.
They have very strong meanings. So when you attach that to somebody who isn't that, then your main spouse will be like, okay, if I'm your wife and we talk about boom, 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 what are you talking about with that person that also has the title of wife attached to him? Like, what are y'all doing at work? And it can just cause more, I think it causes more problems and drama than what it needs. Like if you say, I have a friend at work, a work friend, somebody I work with, and you share that with your partner, that's tight. But if you're like my work wife or my work husband, then that to anybody, that'll make their mind go, who is this person? Why is she?
What makes you feel so confident in your position that you can even be called my husband's work wife? And why is my husband so fucking comfortable for some reason, even letting another woman get that close to him at work, first of all, but two, in a position to where he even thinks that it's remotely safe for his life to call some other woman that he works with his wife. And like you said, I think it's okay to have friends at work. I mean, that's totally fine. But the minute that I think that there's a line that's crossed when you start to refer or infer to somebody else as your work husband or your work wife. I think it's a slippery slope. I don't care how well you maintain boundaries. I don't think it's wise. I think it's dangerous.
Yeah.
Q.
So I definitely think I think the terminology is what trips people up the most. I think the terminology is probably the hardest thing for people to handle when it's used. Now, the reason I'm smiling is because I have had a work wife. Absolutely. And that's how we refer to each other.
Now, when you were married?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How did your wife at the time feel about that? Did she even know?
Yes, absolutely. We went out, we hung out, her and her husband and me and and see the thing is, let me give a couple rules first.
So she was married too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
A work wife cannot be someone that you've had a history with or that you're even attracted to. If you or they or either one of you have attraction or You had history in the past with one another, that can't be your work. That can't be your work wife. That
And
doesn't work.
when you say history, you mean like a romantic history, right?
Yes.
Like, okay.
You talked or you dated or some type of, there was an interest in the past of some sort. That can't be. There's people that I've worked with that I've had history with, and I'd never give them the term that. And let me say it like this also, just for you to look at it another way. Anybody I'm not talking about manipulators and people who, you got a different brand of people too. But anybody who would actually use that term, you wouldn't highlight yourself in that type of manner if there was actually something going on.
I don't know if I believe that. I think that some people are that manipulative that they.
That's what I said. Let me tell you, the people who I did mess with at work, I wasn't gonna call them out. It's gonna be the most hush hush thing. We gonna barely act like we touch more than coworkers, because why would you even want to give off those type of vibes to even have people talking or asking questions like that? So for you to openly, like everybody on our team knew that, they knew that it was nothing more than just a working friendship relationship. And then so it's one of those things, is like, people who, they got your back, they make sure that they keep you up to date on, look, if they about to start laying people off, you better stay on top of you. Like, these are just people who got inside track on. They're gonna let you know what's going on, you're gonna let them know what's going on. Even depending on, I was in a sales job, hey, all right, we're gonna get it today. Let's go. We're gonna get the sales. All right, look, don't be BSing around. We got to stay on the phone and get down with it. And some people, just even from a work sense, that's gonna hold you accountable, make sure that you stand on top of your toes. Somebody who's also gonna motivate you and encourage you to do your best. Like I said, I'm in the sales field, so that's necessary sometimes. So I wouldn't recommend people use that term casually, especially with someone that you are actually interested in. That shouldn't be. You just have to stay away from that altogether.
So why can't the person just be your friend? Why can't it be like your work bestie? Or why can't it just be like my work?
That's a good question.
It's my dog. Why do
that is a good question?
Feel like they have to give that title
let me
of
tell
a
you this.
work wife or work husband?
Let me tell you this. In my situation, or the situations that I've seen, the people don't give themselves that title. It's everyone else around you gives you that title, because they know that y'all too tighter than everybody else.
Right.
Like, can't nobody
y'all sat down and had a conversation. We gonna call ourselves. Right.
So yeah, and even in my situation, or any situation it wasn't the people calling themselves that, is the rest of the team. Like, and it's not a jealousy thing, but it's like, understand they tighter than everybody else, so them two tighter. So don't listen. Don't say nothing about this person around this person. We might talk about everybody. We can't talk about it in front of them, because it ain't go. So that's my experience. So,
did your wife have a work husband, to your knowledge? Has she ever referenced somebody being a work husband? What about your fiance now? Does she have a work husband? Like, has that been a conversation that takes place?
No, she works in the dental field. She works with pretty much 95% women.
Okay.
And I've never been in a situation where I had, a work wife, so to speak, because I've been doing like my own thing musically. Like in the music field, it's completely different. You know what I mean? Like if you're with a female or a young lady in the music thing, then the odds are y'all are probably talking. Y'all are probably something, because you're so secluded with that person. There's not others you can bounce off of. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like with your situation, Q, is like you're working with a group of people, so you can bounce off of other people, not necessarily focus all your time on the work wife or her. So you can still move around. But I still got that thing with that word wife being attached to it. Like I think
the terminology,
but just that on the end is
terminology can really be tricky.
Yeah, that's
Hell,
a whole
some men don't even want a wife to call a woman a wife, let alone to call
Yeah.
somebody that you work with a wife. Like,
Yeah.
it just feels like it does. It feels like it's a slippery slope. Like, I get it, I do, and I don't think that all things have bad intention. I don't, but like,
Right.
I know, and I'm not a jealous person, and only person I'm in competition with is me. But I can't foresee that ever being something I'm comfortable with, and I
What if they
personally,
called it something else? So are you saying that let me ask you this. Can your significant other have friends of the opposite sex at work?
yes, yes.
Okay. So then it's just it's more the terminology than it is
Yes,
the actual.
just like going from girlfriend to wife or boyfriend to husband. Like, you're not just my friend anymore. You're not just like my partner. You're not like my road dog at the office. Like, this is my ride or die over here. Like, now you're my work wife, my work husband. Like, we have to pump the brakes on that. Like, really and truly, it doesn't have to mean there's any ill intention behind
Right.
it. But if I had a husband, he better not think that that's cool. Like, he can't. And me as his wife, he better know I'm coming representing 100%. Like, no, bro, you cannot call me your work wife, because I'm not any of those things. Like, I feel like it's disrespectful to my partner, and so I don't know. And you asked if your partner can have a friend at work, and I said yes, and I'm okay with that, because I believe that there are some people who can absolutely have platonic friendships, platonic relationships. I think once you get past the is he or she fuckable place, right, of just what happens with humans and energy and connection and vibes and shit like that, like, once you get past that point and you really do value this person as an actual human more than somebody that you want to just know what they're like in bed, like, you you can have platonic relationships. You can have a bestie at work that is of the opposite sex, but he or she needs to know their place. And I do realize that a lot of people do live at work. They may spend a hell of a lot more time with their coworkers than they even do with their partner. And I feel like it just almost opens a door that maybe way, way, way back there, but it just opens a door for, I don't know. So let's take Christmas party, right? It's Christmas party. You and your work wife, your work husband. It's been a hell of a year. It's end quarter. Da 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 da. Like, people are drinking, people are laughing, people are having a good time. Like, I mean, even in the best of situations, that can be a risky situation for people to be in. That's why I hate
See,
work
and that's why I think
functions
y'all
that
talking
involve
about
alcohol.
something different. Like, the terminology has nothing to do with what you're talking
But
about.
there's an energy and a connection that you two have that you don't have with anybody else there. You can't deny that there is an energy there, and that doesn't mean I want to have sex
Right.
with you and I want to cheat on my partner. But something's in that motherfucker that makes us click
That's
like
why I
that.
started off as saying a work wife or husband cannot be someone that you have a history with or be attracted to. With me
But
and the person who I refer to as my work, there was 100% no attraction there. Like, really, we were vaguely in the same age range. Culturally, we wasn't even close. Like, nothing else. We vibed, or we had a work connection, and like,
Right.
there was literally nothing else, not even close. And I think it's vibes, and I think my wife and you can tell when there's, like, number one, she know my type, and then number two, she can tell, like, that it's a difference. And not only that, then it's one of those things where a part of it, the vibe the other person gives off kind of lets you know the energy as well. If somebody's standoffish to your actual wife, or like, even in an
Right.
instance where not even go
Right.
wife, but like my unofficial sister, Jaslyn.
Mm-hmm.
When now I knew Jaslyn before me and my current fiance got together.
Mm-hmm.
But once we connected, I told her that she felt our energy. Like, she felt the brother sister energy, and that it wasn't anything more than that. And that makes a difference versus someone standoffish or in competition. It's like, hold on now, yeah, I ain't brother and sister, this and this and that, and to the point to where Jaslyn probably talks to my fiance more than she talked to me. Like I don't even know when she talked to her half time, but that's like, so energy goes a long way too. We're saying a lot of the known things, but a lot of the unspoken energies will go a long way.
And I think, and to add to that, I think a lot of it has to do with setting boundaries early on when you start doing the work wife, work husband, and really let the person know we just friends. These just kiki ha-has, right? Like, we're not gonna go to the movies, unless you have a partner and I have a partner as couple things. Like, I'm not gonna meet you for dinner. I'm not gonna meet you for, extra.
Are we going to lunch? Are we going to lunches? Are we doing work lunches?
Yeah, we did go to lunch.
Me personally, I don't.
You say, yeah, we did go to lunch.
Yeah, I think if you're calling somebody your work wife and your work husband, there's already that energy around that in the office place, in the work environment, that a whole bunch of one-on-one time is not a good look.
Right.
It's not a good look because you're already getting talked about by the coworkers.
Yes, you are. They already think you're sleeping together.
There they go. They go into Papados again, like.
Oh no, not Papa Dough. Hold on.
I'm just like catch a Sonic.
I'm talking about the taco truck that's outside. You ready to go get these breakfast tacos? Let's go get
even that though, right? Even that though, if somebody's your work husband, and y'all walk off 20, 50 feet to be alone to get tacos or whatever, it just adds that extra bad vibe into the office. Into the environment, because I worked office stuff years ago, and it can add that same bad vibe in the space where everybody's like, okay, now you
those
both
just the people that want to either screw you or screw her.
No, I don't think so.
Well,
I don't think so.
In a professional environment, it's fraternizing, right? Like, and that's generally discouraged.
But hold on, Nikki and T-Double. Let me say this: if people don't have that same energy with two unattractive people walking down walking down the hall together. I'm telling the truth. If you are attractive and she are attractive, then that's when those focuses start coming in. Oh, they're two nice looking people. They got to be doing something. No, you do something with me if I gave you the chance, or you'd want to do something with her if you were walking down. See, so a lot of that stuff is projection that other people have, putting themselves in that situation, and me and you ain't the same. I do agree with what you saying, T-Double, but I'm like, some of that is, let's be honest about a few, because there's certain people that I walk down the hall with and that I'm cool with and don't nobody better than I. Because either they think me or her is not attractive, or they might think, well, I know he don't want nothing to do with her. They just really must be friends. Or I know she don't want nothing to do with him. They really must just be friends. But let two attractive people be walking down together. You see that? Projecting.
This is where you have to be careful. And this is where I make the comment quite a few times on social media that I'm not flirting, I'm friendly. And there's a big fucking difference between flirting and friendly. And a lot of people can perceive that totally wrong and say, oh, well, since, Q cool and nice and Nikki cool and nice, like, oh, look at him walking over to the taco truck. Like, she just friendly like that. But like, and what makes me sad when I'm listening to us all give our perspective on this is like, how really what it shows us is people don't know how to have platonic relationships very well, or people have a hard time with being able to have boundaries with people and not be able to put.
I had this conversation with you and Tierra a long time ago.
Yes, you did. That conversation I've mentioned many times.
Out of 10 friends, 9.5 of them are not truly platonic friends. And y'all look like y'all got upset when I told y'all that. I'm like, no, it's not. It does happen, but it is the exception to the rule.
Yeah.
To be able to
all these men that's your friend, they are not your platonic friends. They're not.
And to learn some of that over the years too. We've seen that happen on this show one night. You know what I mean? But that makes me sad, right? That makes me sad because it's like we talked about in that conversation as children when I met boys and when you met girls, when we were children and we met people of opposite sex, we met them as children, as friends. We met them as people we liked or we didn't like. We were little. So we can have platonic relationships. We can have platonic, energy with somebody. somewhere in the adult brain of ours, or the body parts that, you know, respond to things that are stimulus to them, like, people have a hard time controlling that, or taming that, or I don't even know what the right word is, but it's like, how come we don't look at people as friends anymore? And they have
Because you
to
know
be
what
people.
part of the problem is? Let me
What?
tell you this. I was people don't work on just regular relationships. And when I say people, I am talking more about single people. Their
Okay.
concept of I don't want to call anybody thirsty, but it's a form of thirst. So I had this conversation. Listen to me, Nikki. I had this conversation actually last week. I think it was last Wednesday. We was having, one of our teams. There's people on our team. We was having lunch. They had some little special thing for our group. And we were sitting there at the table just eating, relaxing. And usually I stay out. I do enough talking throughout the week. I don't really have the
Right.
desire to get
Right.
into any type of debate, anything. And one of the ladies, I don't know where the conversation came from, but they was like, well, if I'm speed dating, my first questions is going to be, how many kids you got? Are you married? And I was like, no. And they were like, no, that's what I want to know before I have any other thing else. That's the first thing I need to know. I said, that's not the first thing that you need to know. Do you want to know that? Sure. Is that important to know? Sure. That shouldn't be the first questions that come out of your mouth. I could go further into that, but basically, and it was funny because I was in a table full of women and they was all disagreeing with me. I'm like, let me help y'all on something. And I'm like, just from that instance, whenever you start off with those questions, those are the most impersonal questions that you can ask. All you're trying to do is check off boxes to know, do I want to proceed further to have a conversation? And do you check my boxes? Because the only thing I'm looking for is if you're relationship material or not. And if that's the case, I'm like, well, you can find anybody to just check off some boxes. But I don't want to be the person that's just your prototype or what you want to check off boxes for. I'll pass on that.
Right, but
you can go check those
consciously
boxes off on somebody else. Why don't we find out if we have anything in common? If we can have a laugh together? If there's any compatibility whatsoever? And you asking questions that have nothing to do with me as a person. And this is the part I don't get, because women understand this better than anybody. A woman does not want a man who's just trying to check off boxes with you. Or let me go this way. A woman does not want a man who's only looking to you for physical purposes. That's the quickest turn off to a woman. It's like, all you see is my body. You're not trying to figure out, go find somebody else with a fat ass if that's all you're looking for. Unless you're actually trying to get to know me, then I'm not interested in you. It works both ways. Women understand that on their side, but then on the flip side, well, I just need to know, is he the one?
You're not gonna know if he's the one by 3 questions being asked, but you are going to at least. I think that there are some questions that do have to be covered.
But let me finish my point.
Right.
I got too far away. My point is, when you talked about conversations, people don't have conversations for the sake of, number one, just having a good conversation. Number two, maybe learning something about another person or something about yourself in the process of the conversation. There's so much that I have learned about women from women who are I were never interested in or I will never be with. If the only people I can actually have a conversation with is people who are potential for me to have sex with, my mindset is going to be very limited.
Mm-hmm.
My understanding of relationships will be extremely limited. And I see that all the time. So you got women who, men and women, but I'm talking about women right now. If all you're doing is saying, I'm just looking for Mr. Right. I'm looking for Mr. Right. I'm looking for Mr. Right. You are not evolving the way that you should. So when Mr. Right comes along, what type of conversation are you going to have with Mr. Right? You just going to sit there and look cute? Do you know how to ask the right questions that grabs his attention? Do you know how to hold a conversation so that you two can laugh when you go out to dinner instead of just looking at your phones?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's so much stuff that people could learn, but they don't value conversation in itself because you're so busy looking for a destination and you don't realize the lessons are in the journey.
I believe that. I do believe that. I think the journey is where it all comes from. You know, the journey is how you learn if I like this person or if this person and I are compatible. No doubt. So then, what was I? What I wrote? What did I say? Damn! I wrote down a note, and I can't remember what we were talking about. But it was just more so like, why would that person then be given the term work wife or work husband? Because like you said, T, it does create an environment in the workplace because now you kind of have a little bit of a hierarchy. Now you're not equal anymore. Now everybody else is over here, and then me and work wife, work husband are over here because we're a unit, we're a team, we're a thing. People know, don't mess with us. Like, this is what we do, we when it's supposed to be us. But now we've somehow separated ourselves a little bit. I mean, even if nothing were to ever happen and there was no physical attraction whatsoever between you and this work husband or wife, that shit gets messy in a workplace with messy people. And we just talked about how 9 out of 10, opposite sex friends are not opposite sex friends, specifically platonic.
Right.
That creates it. That just even giving somebody more than a "this is my friend at work" title is fucking dangerous. Like,
I agree.
So when I heard this person use the term work wife, and I don't even know if I guess maybe it was the word wife. I'm not sure, but I just was like, nah, this shit is not cool at all. And then it made me wonder, what is his real wife? How does she really feel about this? Like,
right.
Now does this create an insecurity between her and her husband? Like, for what? It doesn't seem like it's worth shit when we can just be really good friends at work. We can just be team at work. Like, I don't know. What were we saying, T?
No, I said I agree with you. It definitely could cause problems at home. You know what I mean? That's why I'm sure there's some data out there for it that most men who have work wives don't tell their real wife that's the work wife, because they know that terminology will cause problems at home. So maybe they don't tell their wife. Maybe when they get home, they tell their wife, "My friend Susan said," or they don't say "my work wife, Susan," and they don't address her as that at home. Even if they have a real good relationship, they know that's one thing you don't talk about. So if you can't bring that energy home and talk about that at home, then you shouldn't be doing it at work. You know what I'm saying?
And T, is he downplaying his relationship with work wife to his real wife? You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
At work, does he happen to be work husband for real? But at home, he paints the picture that, that's just my coworker. Yeah. That's, she's in the office next to me. That's such and such. Whereas when they go to the company function and wife comes with, she picks up on a whole different energy between the two of them. I thought you said she was just such and such, or I thought you said he was just such and such.
So number one, and I agree with both of y'all. It's not wise to use the terminology. Again, I didn't give that title.
Right? Other people did.
Now let me.
So what did they see?
I thought about
what did they perceive to give that title?
Hold on a second. So let me get controversial now. Hold on. Did I finish saying what I want to say about that? Yeah. Okay. So, Nikki, if we were actually in a work environment around other people, without using that terminology, people would look at us the same way.
I agree.
And so the easiest way I could kind of explain it to you is we have a very close working relationship. Like, we cool, I can call you whenever. It's work related. We don't have a lot of conversation outside of what we do here.
Right.
And also, my girl don't have an issue with you at all because energy.
Right.
Like
Right.
we don't have that energy
Right.
toward each other
Right.
at all.
Right. Right.
If we did, then it could become a problem now. Or who's to say? I don't know what people may think about on the outside or whatever, but that it's so without the terminology, I could use you and me as the easiest example and be like, look at our dynamic, and then tell me what that would be the same thing that I'm referring to, not what jerks or other people who try to use it in order to try
Right.
to maneuver,
Right.
but that would be the same dynamic that I described.
So would you say that that could also be like a synonym for like favoritism? Like, cause of all your coworkers that you have, you and I click the most, so we just generally have the most interaction with each other.
The main thing, it goes back to the common interest.
Right.
So me, I'm not calling you talking about relational issues, and you ain't calling me talking.
Right.
The most we've exposed each other is live on air. we put more of our business live on air. So whatever we know about one another, most of y'all know it because we say it, say it live.
Right.
But so anyway, so it's not like, oh, Nikki calling me, let me go in the other room and let me take this call. No, what's up? Whatever you gonna say is something that everybody can hear, because we don't have any type of secretive relationship to where we have conversations that shouldn't be privy to the partner's ears or whatever.
Right.
Like it's never, I will answer your call in the middle of anything, and it's not a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have to wonder, oh, what's she gonna say? Is she
right? I can't. Well, you can't put me on speaker anyways, but not for that reason.
So it's just that I guess that can be the best way for you to kind of grasp it without the terminology. That would be what it's like. But it's all related to the common interest.
Right.
So if freethinkers stopped and we ain't do freethinkers anymore, we'd be cool when we saw each other. Hey, what's going? But we not kicking it and hanging out, and probably not.
Right.
You know, because we don't even share the same circles like that. The circle that we share is freethinkers.
Right.
And when we get off now, more than likely, unless something else pop up, the next time I'm gonna talk to you, you're gonna be Tuesday afternoon.
Right.
Because that's what we have in common.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think part of the work wife, work husband thing in platonic relationships is harder in today's hook up fast society, where if you're seen with a guy friend or with a girlfriend, other people instantly don't think y'all smashing or have smashed, right? That's their first thought. So that makes it harder to have a relationship. Like if you have a platonic friend and you want to go kick it with them, you might be like, well, who's gonna see us there? You know what I mean? Somebody might see us and be like, oh, I saw them at the movies, or I saw them here. So society as a whole, social media as a whole, a lot of those things make having just a relationship with a woman just that's cool with you hard.
Yeah, so now if you out at the movies and stuff, like that person shouldn't be considered your work wife. When you're doing like things outside of work,
like y'all doing too goddamn much. Y'all doing too much.
Some people do though. Like,
see, that's what I'm saying. I'm not talking about those people. I don't want us to get mixed up with those people.
Is your work wife and work husband relationship allowed to be outside of the workplace? Like,
if it was, see, anything, okay, so let me say it like this. Anything that I did outside of, usually my wife would be there. Right. So we're gonna kick, we're gonna go to Top Golf. My wife, her husband, other group of people, like we're not doing stuff outside of work, just us solely on our own.
Right.
Why? Like we don't even have a desire to do that. Our relationship is work related.
Like she was for real your friend, like enough to where you would hang out with her and her significant other, like outside of work.
But it's still but that goes with anybody. Like it's some guys I'm real cool with at work. We're not hanging out outside of work.
Right.
Like, and outside of that, then that's just not a work associate anymore.
But another guy doesn't threaten.
But again, that's what I'm saying. Then that terminology shouldn't even be used. People thought the same thing with the previous person we did the group with in Meeting of the Minds. I think they thought a lot about me and her. Like we might have had some. When we left, the next time I spoke to her would be the Tuesday right before we left. Like. Our common interest was Meeting of the Minds. Outside of that, we didn't have any real even though we knew each other before that. We did music circuit, but I didn't know her. Like, I knew of her, but I didn't know of her. We didn't hang out through music. So we didn't have a reason to after that.
Right.
So you know, I get it. And like I said, I would never give myself that term, and I really wouldn't subscribe. It's not useful. like T Double said, there's more potential for negative outcomes than it is positive. It's like it's very little, if nothing, positive that can come out of that, to use the word work wife versus just, oh yeah, that's my buddy. Just leave it at that. That's my work buddy. That's my work buddy. Leave it at that. If that's what you got to call something. But yeah, I do agree. I agree with you.
Joe B, we talk about work husbands and work wives.
Oh, Joe got pride. Joe got work polygamy. Everybody married to him work wives.
Polygamy now, goddamn.
People just run up to Joe and
he's got stories.
You said my story's got stories. So you've had a work wife. You've been a work husband.
Hold on, let me plug in this Wi-Fi antenna.
He said it's about to get real.
He said sometimes it goes in, sometimes it goes out.
I get my the thing. My thing is my superhuman mutant ability is that I make people feel comfortable.
You going out a little bit.
You always go out just when you say something.
Ability. Okay, let me hold on, Joe B. Do this like
I don't know what's in there right now.
Turn your video off and see if that helps. Just can you turn your video off and leave your audio on? Sometime that helps better.
I think you're frozen.
Oh shoot. Well, you tried.
It sounds like he said he has the ability to make people feel comfortable.
That's what I think people say.
I'm pretty sure. Because I've witnessed it firsthand.
A few times.
You ever when come to a grown man and I'm looking forward to a hug, you know that's something.
Hugs
like,
on
Joe,
sight,
where my hug at, Joe?
Hugs on sight. Hugs on sight.
But I don't know. Did you get everything out of that? I mean, he probably come back talk about it in a second.
I know. I was so looking forward to hearing some of his damn work wife, work husband stories. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, we know how I feel about it. You know, I think it's a slippery slope.
I definitely agree that the terminology is not a good idea, and I don't think I'd use that terminology. And the question is, like I said, sometimes the terminology is given to you. Would you confront your team or be like, nah, we ain't using that terminology? Like, would you confront people who tried to give you that label if they did at your job?
I wouldn't confront, but I would definitely correct.
That's a better word.
But I would also have to put myself in check too, because clearly something about my actions and behaviors is displaying something to these people that this is how they feel about me and this person. And granted, I can't control how somebody thinks and feels, but I also believe that, I'm responsible for what I put out. And so I would have to check that, but I would absolutely correct people. And I adamantly support my man, my husband. If some shit was funny, no, I'm definitely gonna make sure people know that I have no other husband other than the one I'm married to. Like, I don't think you have to be confrontational, but I do think it needs to be checked. I absolutely do. I think that you need to make sure people know how they can and can't treat you. And that would not be no fly ass shit. I mean, you can't control anybody from going and running their mouth behind you, but you can run your mouth and always going to know that Nikki's going to say something. You can say it, but I'm going to correct you. I'm going to make sure that you can't run with that lie and run with that shit.
Yeah, especially it depends on people's intentions on top of that, where they're trying to go.
And some people have dirty ass intentions.
Yeah, they do. Some people, they do it like trying to be messy.
They want to get fired.
This is one thing that I can tell you probably
out there.
This is one thing I can tell you probably with me, because I've had several, people at work try to give me that label with people. And sometimes I will be like, oh, no. Because either for one or two things, number one, we not that tight, and number two, like I said, if I'm attracted to you, then I'm not gonna let you give me that. I'm
Not
not
gonna
gonna let
play
you.
with that.
Right? No,
Play with it.
I ain't doing that. I'm keeping my distance on purpose. So, but
Right.
the one thing
Smart man.
I could probably say is, especially at work and working in the sales environment, whether call center or actual sales, but it's still call center environment. There's a lot. I've been doing that since I was 18. My first call center, and I've probably been in about 8 or 9 of them since then. That's one of
It's
the
a meat
messiest
market.
places you'll ever.
If you ain't looking, you being looked at.
It is so messy, and everybody talking, and
Period.
everybody gossiping. You talk for a
Period.
living, so people gonna talk. They gonna talk on the phone, and when they get off the phone, they still gonna talk, and
Right.
they gonna speculate. They gonna call centers are so messy.
I'm having MCI visions right now.
Yeah, exactly.
You know how to go.
Y'all remember back in the day?
But one of the things about me, if, wherever I work at,
Look,
I am shoot. Hold on a second, Joe. I am extremely I'm extremely cautious on and reserved on who I talk to. Number one, I'm still an introvert at heart. Number two, you know, I'm just real to myself, because this is my money. I ain't letting nobody mess up my money. I'm not even giving people the opportunity to speculate on me, or someone to lie, or to, even manipulate, So even if somebody tried to lie on me, then it wouldn't be believable. Like, why would he don't even talk to nobody? Why would he, So I am very, very to myself and standoffish, even in a call center environment. Now, for me, who don't speak to anybody, male or female, I'm just really to myself. I'll say a little bit, and then I go back to my corner. When they find someone who I'm comfortable with and that I will actually joke around with, then they like, oh, he has a connection with them that he don't have with none of us, because he don't even laugh or joke with none of us like that. So then that's when that term gets thrown at me, even when it doesn't apply. But it's just like, oh, you will actually have regular conversation and not just professional conversation with this person. So, and you don't do that with any of us. So that's when I see that label comes a lot. Joe, what were you gonna say, sir?
Well, perception is reality. And you know what I love about call centers, and Q, you and everybody else who's been in a call center is gonna feel this. I feel like call centers we're like a beta test for social media. You know what I'm saying? Because you get paid to be you come into an environment where you get to be somebody else in this small space where nobody knows you. Your whole little office is your throne. MySpace throwback. And then on top of that, you get to be a very different person in that room that you are not when you at home. How many times you go in there? When I used to go into a call center, I would always spot the players every single time. I'd spot the sharks. I'd spot the desperate housewives. I'd spot the whole the soon to be not closeted but currently closeted. Like they keep not closeted and like out there. Sometimes that, but to themselves, and they try to keep to themselves and everything. But and they all get paid to be there, and they all stay in their own zone, so to speak. But eventually, human nature is human nature. People are going to click up,
that much time,
and they're going to do. Yep, they're going to do like you just described, and it's like a damned if you do or damned if you don't thing. You know what I'm saying?
And also, let me throw in this too, Joe. Let me throw in this too.
Yeah.
The power dynamics change also in a call center, because you might be a nerd or a geek out on the street, but you get in a certain environment and your mouth game right, and you getting sales, and you the one bringing in all the money. Now, when don't nobody think twice about you, you're somebody that they look up to in that environment. So the power dynamic can change also. Yeah.
You a boss with them headphones on and stuff. But as soon as we get out in these streets, you still stay with your mom.
But you don't know me out in them streets though.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But now someone like you, I'd spot someone like you in a call center, and I would know you were one of the realest ones there because you don't say nothing to nobody. At a call center, it's like a barbecue that you get paid to be at.
Oh man.
It's a barbecue that you get paid to be at. Everybody is, or even school, or even high school. Because when you walked into school,
Right.
like I don't know, none of y'all have ever been to Ellison High School, but you walk inside that front area, it's a big ass open space. And there's clicks here and clicks there and clicks there. And if you ain't in no click, they watching to see who you float to. It's like
That's
fucking
true.
prison.
That is true.
I was gonna say it's like day one of the penitentiary.
Right.
They're trying to see who you with. And one of the things about me, ever since high school, and that's what people used to say, I knew Bloods and I knew Crips. And the only reason why the Bloods didn't mess with me when I hung around with the Crips was because they knew, okay, well, you ain't no messy cat, and if they cool with you, then we ain't got no choice but to fuck with you, because it's got to be something about you. You know what I'm saying? I could move in and out of every circle I wanted to. I'd spend time with you, I'd hang out, but if your vibe wasn't completely my vibe, I was gone. If it got to the point to where I needed to pick a side, then I've already picked before you asked me, baby. I'll catch you later. You know what I'm saying? But it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of thing. So you either do your damnedest to turn invisible and stay invisible, or like the homie said, you play the game how it go. You know what I'm saying? You play it just enough to navigate. You don't got to get in with nobody or whatever, but you play it just enough to navigate. Okay, just enough over here, so they don't ask me no questions. I'm gonna deal with this person just enough over here, so that way I ain't got to worry about them clinging to me. I'm gonna deal with this person just over here because he's my boss and I get paid to listen to this motherfucker. And that's it. That's where it goes. And it's like, and whew.
It's interesting, man. It's an interesting place.
And you even have, and you even especially have the cleanup men, retired, who, I mean, like, you know, and there's two different types. It's the ones that, it would be the two different types. It'd be the ones that was out there looking. Ooh. You know what I'm saying? It'd be the chicken hawks out there. But then again, it would be the ones who were keeping to themselves. But some woman who needed something she wasn't getting home would just keep pressing and keep pressing and keep pressing. And you pressing because you seem different from what you got. He seemed different from what you got at home. And the door goes both ways. And it's a fun little thing. And everything seems like it's so romantic and it could go that far until it actually happens. And then you're like, oh shit. You know what I'm saying?
Let me ask you,
that's the slippery slope.
Nikki, did you ever work at MCI, Nikki?
No, I didn't work at MCI. I worked at another call station, but no, but back in high school, everybody worked at MCI. So everybody knew everybody that worked for MCI.
That was one of the first jobs I was about to get when I came here in '99. I almost got a job at MCI.
No, I did another call center, but I did not do MCI. No, because it was so fucking messy. No, everybody that I knew worked. I think everybody in Austin, if you're like my age and older, I would say 90% of the town worked for MCI at some point. But no, I did not. And I don't know. I just like hearing what Jovi said, and it just reiterates what we've already acknowledged. Like it's just a slippery slope. It's dangerous. It opens the door. Like and no matter how much you and that other person may control the parameters, is everybody else that's the problem. So my question that I had written down that I lost my train of thought was,
ask yours first though.
Well, so what makes you connect? You know, if one is so introverted, if one is so, you know, controlled in their situations and their surroundings, what you know, if I'm just there to do my job and do my job well and not have enemies, you know, then I think what we have to be cautious of is what allows us to connect with these people on that level.
Usually it's time. Most of the time it's time. If my cubicle is right here and their cubicle is right next to mine, then that's you're spending a large portion of your life next to a person. That's true. Then so then it gives you time to start to learn about a person when otherwise you probably wouldn't. You wouldn't be around them long enough to have those. But if I'm around you long enough and hey, you got my computer doing something weird. Do you know what happened? Oh yeah, when you do this and this and this, and then after you go back and forth, getting information either from knowing how to do the job or just doing something technical. And did you know how to do? Did you get the memo? Such and such stuff. And it's a constant communication where they're keeping you up to speed on what's going on. If you forgot something, hey, did you get that? We got a meeting coming up at 11. Oh, okay, thanks, appreciate it. And over time, you do that for a couple of years, and this person gonna get real cool with you.
Right.
True that.
Oh, so my question was,
It's
let me
human
ask you a question.
nature.
Yeah.
Agree.
What types of, because we talked a lot about call centers and offices, but in your opinion, what type of jobs have the most likelihood of you building, just friendships? I mean, I ain't trying to make innuendos, just basic, because as adults, we ain't just running into a bunch of new friends at
Right.
a certain age.
People
But what
that
type
wouldn't
of
be a bad
jobs
thing.
facilitates that type of do you think most likely will facilitate you building an actual friendship with another person?
I think medical professionals, like hospital setting professionals,
Yeah,
I mean, because
yeah.
there's such a large building and hundreds of employees. I think that would definitely be one of those places. I wanted to say
Ooh.
a school, but schools are predominantly female based. It's generally women who work as teachers, at least in the
And a large
the,
portion of your
younger
time is
education
spent
setting.
separate. You're in your classroom with your kids, so you have
Right.
small periods of time in the break room or in between time, but you're not really in close proximity. Now, you did make me think of something, even when you talked about hospitals. And I'm talking about sales industry. Any place of high stress probably gives you a more reason to bond closer with the people around you. And when you said hospitals, I'm like, yeah, that makes, you're thinking of places potentially with high stress, sales environments or high stressful jobs, anything to where you're doing the things for high potential of stress, then it turns into that's why I think police officers get so close. It's a high stress job. And,
some of those
it turns
positions,
into, we got to stick together, or whatever this is going to whoop our ass, whether it's, us out there on the streets, or the salespeople telling us no, or all the, the sick people hey, we got to stick together. And when you get that mentality, then I think it draws you closer.
Well, and some professions are just, I think, naturally built around team versus individual. There's some jobs you can go to work at and you may never fuck with another person your whole entire 8, 9, 10-hour shift. Like, it just may be you and doing your job. Right. But some of these other positions, definitely the medical field being one of them, you can't work individually. Your job is not just a you. You have to have a team, whether it's doctors or physicians or nurses or techs or lab. I mean, you have other people involved on a daily basis. So I can definitely see that being one of those environments where it can probably just easily happen there, right? But
yeah.
Then again, there goes
one of my closer friends that I have, that I keep up with until this day, which is another guy. But we did security together. And that's even security. It wasn't a high stressful job, but it was a very reliant job to where you needed the assistance of, it wasn't something that you can just do by yourself. You constantly needed someone else to cover you, and can you step in for this, and if I take this day off, can you cover me? And when there was a constant, we have to cover somebody because somebody has to be at this post. And I think that also helped and matter of fact, now that I think about it, there was 2 or 3 people. I'm not as close to a couple of the other ladies that I did security with, but it's like 3 or 4 of those people that I was really close with. So I think the job plays a big part.
And I think
same blood, same mud.
Yeah, and I think on top of that, as far as getting friends and long-term friends, a lot of it is based off your friends you've had over the years, right? Like, I still have friends that I've known since I was 5 years old, right? So we got the same interests. So when they come around with one of their new friends, there's a high likelihood that me and that person might bond too, because me and this other person is really close. So then you pick up new friends, you pick up new people to talk to and new people to hang out with. Especially, like, I'm kind of an introvert. Like, I get over here and talk with y'all, but I'm kind of an introvert in public. So I'm not really out like, hi, I'm Tyranny. What do you do? Type of thing. Most of the people I meet are brought around from other people.
Friends of friends.
Who I'm cool with. And I'll be like, okay, if they brought you, that's basically your cosign.
So I got 2 walls down already. So I only got 1 wall up instead of 3 walls, because since you brought them, if they cool with you, then I'm already giving them the benefit of the doubt walking into it unless they do
like case in point, tyranny. When I first moved here, I've been in Austin about 20 years, right?
Right.
You were the first local MC I had ever heard that was on the radio.
Wow.
I remember hearing I don't know the name of the song, but the chorus, like, I Can't Hold Back, I think it was.
That was the song.
You know what song I'm talking about?
I do know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And I kept hearing T Double. I kept hearing T Double, Babu and everybody else, right? And then next thing you know, I heard my one of my friends, Sonny, had mentioned you. And
that's one of my long-term friends I was talking about.
Sonny don't deal with a whole lot of people. Period. So, and the people that are on this chat with us right now don't deal with a whole lot of people. I probably maybe only met you in passing once or twice the whole time we've been in town. But all I needed to know was that these two and that one knew you. And for me, based on their characters alone, that was enough for me. That's all I needed to know.
Exactly. Yep. That's why I say, the people who are closest to you that you've known the longest. Like, I put a lot of weight into people that I've known years and years. Like, we've been through things. I've seen them get married, divorced, and we're close, and I know what's going on. So when they come around with somebody, or if they mention somebody, I'll be like, oh, okay, they must be cool. Like, if I'm looking for a new artist and Nikki hit me up and say, you should check out blah, blah, blah. I usually don't check people's links and all that, but she'll send it, I'll go peep it. Right. Maybe like, okay, well, that's my homie. She knows something was up. Let me go peep it out. I'm like that person. So it's like, if somebody's close to me and they mention somebody, bring somebody else, that's how I make friends. Because I'm really to myself. As you see, I'm always in my studio. When I post online, it's from my studio. Like, I rarely go outside for shit. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Maybe that's why we feel the way we feel about the whole terminology of work wife and work husband. Because I don't let a lot of people in anyways.
Yeah.
To then have somebody be able to call that must mean you're really close to me or my partner. And I don't know if I like that. I don't know. But I'm also okay with the platonic friendship. I'm also okay with my man having a female friend at work or somebody that he trusts at work. If he trusts her, I might give it a side eye for a little minute because you still have to get my approval, right? But I'm also going to be a lot less reluctant to feel any type of weirdness because that's not the type of foundation I want to have with my man anyway.
And I think it sounds weirder just having this conversation, and it to hear someone like you say it and make it sound even weirder. But I think you and T Double, and I don't know, I don't know what type of work T Double do, but maybe Nikki, like, there's certain things. If you're in the environment long enough, you're more accepting of certain terminology. Like, I'm sure, if you worked at a strip club, then you'd hear the B word and the whole word thrown around a whole lot more than you would in any other place. And it probably the same way. I'd be like, oh, how you let somebody, like, look, that's the environment. That's how we talk around here.
And it depends on where you work, right? Like, you could work somewhere, like, I do a lot of stuff in the corporate end of music, right? So you could be in that space and have your work wife and not ever call her your work wife, or she'll call you your work. Y'all are just that, right? Like, y'all are just that close. And then some jobs, that's what you do. Like, if you're in a call center or whatever, like, people just talk like, that's my work wife, blah, 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 blah. So
that's part of the terminology in that environment.
It's part of the vernacular of that environment. You could be in a corporate world and be tight as hell with somebody where it looks like y'all engaged. And nobody will call it work wife or work husband. It'll be like, okay,
that ain't that's not the language that's used in that.
No, but do you think that in that same environment, people just automatically then assume y'all are fucking with each other?
Totally.
Do you think you don't think that people just automatically assume that, other than they just assume that y'all are really good friends?
It depends on how fine both of y'all is.
Damn, I hate that.
And like I said earlier, right? Like
you were 8 and
we live in a society where
they doing something. They ain't hanging around each other for nothing.
Yeah. Like I said, we live in a society that's like
a lot of times
smashing.
Yeah.
So that's everybody.
The dynamic.
Go ahead, Joe.
No. Go ahead. T. You had it. You was on it. I'm finna follow up on what you finished saying.
No, I was gonna say, Nikki, we live in a society where everybody's first thought is they hitting. Like, you rarely see two people together and be like, man, they look like they some cool ass people. You be like, he got to be smashing that.
Right.
All right.
They got to be after work. I know what they doing after work. They not
Mhm.
going home. That's everybody's first thought. So that makes relationships, friendships hard. You know what I'm saying?
True.
And you know, perception is always gonna be reality. But even between the two people that are being spoken about, that are seen together, between those two people, any relationship dynamic is governed by intention on both sides. You know what I'm saying?
It's true.
If it so happens, if somebody was to do a count and they were to say, well, Joe, according to these numbers here, you have more friends. Most of your friends don't go to the same bathroom you do. And I'm like, well, that's because they're comfortable around me. And they know I ain't trying to find my mama all up in their chest and shit. You know what I'm saying? You can be around me. But what happens is, so if I'm your friend and you're a woman, I can be your friend in earnest. If something pops up, if feelings become an issue based on the temperature, I'm going to either keep it to myself or I'm going to say something when the time is right. But there are situations where two people will get put together, whether it's work or whatever else, and they're both saying they're cool, and they mean the opposite. They mean that they say they're just friends, but one's just waiting for the other one to cave. They're just trying to soften the other one up. They say they're just fuck buddies, that this is just a thing. But truth be told, you've been hurt, and you're waiting for the other person to decide, you know what, I really want more than this. Oh, really? That's great, because I just happen to know. You know what I'm saying? And every time I've been in a casual situation, the rules would get broke down to me. Oh, this is just a thing, boo. You ain't the only one. Don't get cute if you see me in public, and I'll see you when I see you. And I'm like, great. and everything stays that way until a pet name slips out your mouth.
Right.
Yeah.
Until I hear boo or sweetie, and I ain't hear none of that shit.
He said pet name, so work wife
Right.
and work husband is a pet name.
I'm like, just like, don't get. And then they get mad when I don't call them back when I play the game twice. I'm like, sweetie, don't get mad just because the hunter got captured by the game. You know what I'm saying?
Poetry bars again.
It's all about how true you coming with it. Even this last situationship I was in, it was like, initially I just wanted it to be friends, and that was going to be, you're going to be on your way, you're an assignment, God put you in my life, you're here until you're not, just like everybody else, and let's go. And then next thing you know, it just spun, and next thing you know, it became a war of miscommunication. Okay, well, I only really want this. Okay, well, then why are you switching up on me? Okay, well, why are you acting this way? Well, you said you just wanted to be friends. Well, why are you switching up? Oh, don't be different. I thought we were special. If I didn't call you a pet name when you answer the phone, if I said, hey, what's up, I get in trouble. Oh, you're switching up on me. What's wrong with you? Blah, 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 blah. You know, what's going on? What you doing? And I'm like, you need to get that shit right within yourself before you come to me or anybody else. Because if I'm coming at you true and you can't even be honest with yourself, never mind lying to me, you can't even be real with yourself, that means you fucking both of us over. That means you deceptive. That means I can't trust you and you can't trust yourself.
No, hey, Joe, that fall back on you. I keep saying, to the one who knows better, it's their responsibility to do better. So if you know, regardless of what they say, Joe, if you know, they can talk that big boy stuff if they want, but at the end of the day, if they gonna catch feelings or you start to see them catching feelings, then it's your responsibility to cut it. And I'm like, and every casual relationship that I've ever had that was supposed to be only casual, very few, only a couple of them knew how to actually keep it casual. And those were great times. But oftentimes,
they're supposed to be great times.
They said this was just casual. And listen, let me tell you something about me too. I tell people this. I have never been a one night stand type of guy. You're not gonna see me one night be like, oh shoot, I want to blow my back out. That's just, it ain't never been my type of flow. But if you around me long enough, if you like spend 2 or 3 weeks with me, you're gonna start catching feelings. Most people will. That's the way. That's just the way my mojo work. I got like a 2-3 week mojo. Yeah. And you can be like, oh, he cool this, and then like, you know,
that's my point.
Cool. But when you see that, the moment you see that,
it's
your responsibility to make the shift, not to say, oh no, remember you said, at that point it don't matter what she said. I know what I see. She's catching feelings, she's catching emotions. I got to pull back, cut this off, because at the end of the day, part of the reason people like me, my heart is bigger. My heart typically supersedes my penis. So as much as I might like screwing you, I don't want to screw you over emotionally, and I'd rather cut that off before I hurt somebody's feelings, because that's never my intention. But if I'm the one who see it, then I say that to every single person I know. If you see it, they may not see it. They might keep talking a good game, but they don't see it. If I see it, then it's my responsibility.
Well, see, and like I said, the casuals, they were easy to cut off, because clearly this is more than you wanted. You couldn't explain that to me, and you weren't honest with me, so I'm out. But this last situationship was different, because every single time I noticed that, okay, this is just a friendship. You're going your way, I'm going mine, I'm going over here. Suddenly there'd be like, as soon as I'd start to move on, you know what I'm saying? Be like, oh, what are you doing? You're tripping. You acting funny. I'm like, well, you just wanted to be friends. Well, no, maybe we could try something. And then as soon as that comfort settled in, you know what I'm saying? I'm seeing you drift away, and I'm like, okay, well, let me get ready to go back. Well, what are you doing? So it'd be like a back and forth constantly, to the point to where I would, and again, you are right. Iron sharpens iron. So I'll take some responsibility. But as
the key word you said every single time, that was the phrase. So you saw the pattern of behavior that kept happening, and you saw something that she probably didn't see herself, or she didn't know it or was able to identify with it. When you see it, like, nah.
And that's why even this last time we reconnected.
How many last times has it been, Joe? Because situationships are fucking funny like that.
They are very funny. But the thing is about a situationship is it'll teach you a lot about yourself.
You damn skip me. It better at least do that.
It'll teach you enough about yourself, and I'll say that this was the first time that things got cut off, and the wound didn't need to be cauterized. It didn't hurt like it did.
Say that again.
To walk away.
Okay.
Where the wound didn't need to be cauterized. You know what I'm saying? There was no bleeding. Like when, in the movies where somebody's hurt and they take that metal, here, I'm gonna burn your wound so it doesn't bleed anymore. Stop the bleeding. Really, they do a horrible job in the movie. So don't let the movie fool you. You'll kill everybody.
Be bleeding and burning at the same time.
It's infected. You'll be all right. Pour some vodka on it. It's the movies. You know what I'm saying? But
it's bleeding and burning.
This last time when we reconnected, as good as it felt, I just kept hearing his voice saying, "This is it. You're only here to say goodbye. You're only here to see why you're leaving," and that's it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like then you learn yourself in the moment, kind of like what they call kind of like what they used to call soul ties. You know what I'm saying? Where whether or not it's sex or anything else, you fuse together in an unnatural way. You know what I'm saying? Something threw you two together, like in Speed, like Keanu Reeves and.
You think soul ties have to be unnatural?
I've always been told that they were not necessarily unnatural in an evil connotation, but incidental in a different from a way a normal relationship would develop. Like I said, say for example,
I know what you're saying. I had to, I know exactly what you're talking about. I just had to start asking myself questions.
But I think that's what makes what makes a soul tie a soul tie is that it is a naturally forming connection with somebody that isn't explainable.
Why does it have to be odd?
Because a soul tie is one of those things that is. And maybe odd is the wrong word. Maybe you can't. Maybe you don't know what the adjective is to put on the what makes this person now your soul tie. The power that is associated with the connection with that person. Because everybody is not a soul tie.
I think it can be, but I think everything is just sharing. This goes back to the God conversation we had a couple months ago. I think we are all just like, I don't know who had this conversation. Just like there is physical DNA and elements, and
Right.
we're all made up of we got different DNA, but we're all made up of the same elements, whether it's you, me, this computer, a tree, the stars, the moon, whatever, all made up of the same stuff. In a likewise manner, the unseen elements, which some people will call them spiritual or whatever, we don't know much about it, but it's all made up of the same stuff. And that's why there's a connection that a person can have even through conversation and other things. I think that since we're all made, that's why we still all have, you don't have to know anyone to have a certain commonality with them, or a certain filial brotherly love. Like there's a connection that you have with certain people, even that you don't know. Now that connection has spectrums to it, and depending on how you further connect, whether it could be in a conversation, it could be in like freethinkers, me and Nikki, we connect in a certain way. We don't agree with nothing, but we still connect when it comes to this. Some people have physical connections. Some people there's all different type of connections, but it's more like a spiritual unseen type of thing, and it ties you together. So anyway, I'm thinking out loud something that I've probably been pondering on for a couple months. But my whole point is, Joe, now when I view soul ties, I don't think it has to be a negative thing the way it's been presented to me. It doesn't have to be negative or odd or strange. I think but
there's an attachment, and it's not generally a healthy attachment. There's a reason you can't detach from this person, and it's not because they are connected to your spirit in a way to where, like you said, Joe, the wound didn't need cauterizing. If you can walk away from it, that's not a soul tie. If you cannot fucking walk away from it, no matter how much pain or confusion is inflicted to you because of this relationship dynamic, that is unhealthy boundary. Like a soul tie, to me, a soul tie is not necessarily a positive reference.
Question. This is a question. Since we on freethinkers, the thought that came to my mind is, could it be society or the things that we accept and don't accept in our society is what makes a soul tie bad? So if we practice the way some people do with shared love, and we don't define love and make it exclusive the way our society does, then would that soul tie still be bad? Sometimes it could be our the way we physically, tangibly decided to operate in society could be restricting things that in a spiritual realm at its highest peak was never meant to be controlled in that way. Just a thought.
Yeah.
Damn. It's interesting because society plays a huge part on
society plays a huge part in everything, how we see each other, what determines attraction.
Unfortunately, it's our filter.
Everything. I've mentioned this before. I kind of dated, I don't know. We went on a few dates.
What you kind of? Hold on,
define
this, Joe. What you mean you kind of dated? What's that?
They kind of dated means that she won't admit it in public, and I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
To where we would have our time together. You know, I'd go over her house and hang out. We'd go out to go eat here or there or whatever. But her issue with me, the only issue that she mentioned, was that I was an inch shorter than her, and that bothered her.
Nikki.
And she was like, that's the only thing. She's like, everything. And we were sitting there talking and laughing, and we were hugged up on each other one day, and I was about to go, and she was like, shit. And I was like, what's wrong? She's like, everything's cool till we stand up next to each other.
Damn.
At one point, she asked me if I would consider wearing lips. And that told me the clock started. The clock started right then. And my thing is, it's like nowadays, it's not about whether or not you like that person. It's not whether or not y'all have a connection, because you'll sacrifice a connection for the sake of public appearances. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like you look at what you imagine what would have happened if Sierra had just gotten so upset at all the flack she caught for dating Russell Wilson and saying, you know what, everybody's right. I do need a thug. Let me go ahead and get with a thug because I can't deal with the
Let me go
pressure
back to
of
my baby
everybody
daddy.
talking about. Right. Let me go back to all this drama because my favorite thing is when people say, man, they look so good together. I'm like, is that really the only thing? And when they say these people look good together, they're saying these people please my eyes. I don't want to see people that don't look good with people that do look good because that upsets me. And because it upsets me because it makes me take a look at myself. Because if I was all right within my fucking self, I wouldn't have a problem with Quasimodo dating Rosario Dawson.
Right.
I wouldn't have a problem with that. There's something
Yeah.
in me
Why do I
that
care
I don't want.
anyways?
Because
Right.
people are projecting and internalizing. So if Quasimodo was able to get with Rosario Dawson, like how he do that? If that's how I should be with her if that's the case. But you see somebody nice looking, then all you can say is, "Oh yeah, they look nice together." Because I wouldn't stand a chance. He looked better than me. He got more money. Like that's really what men and women be saying a lot of times. Oh, well, I see why they're together. There's no reason for me to get jealous about it because they both their number grade is higher than mine.
Damn.
Both of them.
And this is why if
remember how mad people was about Jay-Z?
And Beyonce.
Exactly.
You heard so many big lip, ugly, this and this, and I'm like, God, everything about him, he got to be big lip.
She was a child. She was a child when he got her, so there's that.
I'll do you one better. For the 10 seconds it lasted, JD and Janet.
Oh yeah.
Even
midget
even Chris Rock, even Chris Rock with his self-hating ass, another story. Even he has said, now that they're dating, I know I got a shot. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That type shit.
I've heard him say that.
Yeah, it's that type shit. And that's why if I'm attracted to a woman, and this is me, as much as it sounds like I'm downing on somebody else's preference. If I'm attracted to a woman and we're having conversation, it don't matter how much we seem to click or connect. If I hear you mention more than once what you are into, and that thing that you mentioned is far removed from me. You know what I'm saying? If you say you normally like lighter or darker dudes, if you say you normally date skinny dudes, if you say you normally date tall dudes, I'm like, well, don't do me no fucking favors. Because my thing is, you don't want what's on the inside, you want what's on the outside. You want the package to look good because the package distracts you from the work you need to do. Right. It distracts you from the shit you're not facing. So go ahead and handle that, because what I don't want is for you to feel so good about who I am on the inside and then get with me a year or two later and I'm all in thinking we 100 and you can't reconcile with that one thing about me you don't like that has nothing to do with who I am as a person.
Right.
Yeah. I'm with that.
True.
That's good stuff.
That's true.
We veered off a little bit, but this is all good stuff. It's mildly related.
I mean, it is, because it's all the complex parts of relationships.
Right.
And work-related relationships do this. I think that's why it's the easy. I think that's why oftentimes people who cheat, it's with coworkers. It's the easiest. I mean, it's the next. It's the only other place that you spend as much time as you do at home, if not more than. So it's easy to, like, it's easy. It's the slippery slope part, And
But that's the other thing. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Nikki.
Well, just say I applaud people who can have platonic relationships. I applaud people, like I said, who can get past the, I wonder what this person is like in bed. I wonder. That's nature, right? Like, that's a natural thing. The parts of your body that receive, messages do just that. But if you can get past that and you appreciate people for who they are, and you can appreciate a good man or a good woman as somebody to have in your circle or have on your team, or be somebody that you can actually call or reference on, even if it is just at work, being able to have a platonic relationship and a platonic friendship, that shit's fucking powerful. I've learned some of the most priceless treasures from at least three of you, the three of you on here, as being platonic friends, not to mention, a few other men, but those things I would not have learned if we were all just trying to fuck each other. Like those wouldn't even be. I wouldn't even be curious to even delve into your
But that's
spirit or
what I
know more
said is the
about you.
problem nowadays, Nikki.
Right.
People don't want
Exactly.
they have no interest in platonic relation because they don't
Like,
feel that they're
that
needed,
is
and they
so
feel like I just
unfortunate.
it is very
So
unfortunate.
unfortunate.
And I see people going backwards more and more, and I'm like, what you say you want the most, you're actually getting further and further away from it.
Right. My favorite is when I hear somebody run down all the things that they want and they try to play it cool and put a little less emphasis on the one thing they really want. They just say the other stuff loud to convince you that they're well-rounded. I want someone that listens to me, respects me for who I am, and I want someone who does this and do this, but just, you know what, please just let them have that.
Right.
I'm cool. That's the real thing you wanted. And you'll rationalize that thing that they whisper, the thing that they mention with the lower tone. That's the thing that they'll rationalize everything else around. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they didn't come home last night, but you know what? They're dealing with a lot right now, you know, and I just want to be available for them women because I know that right now they just need somebody. They just need somebody to be a presence in their life, to be there for them and everything like that. Yeah, he hit me, but I kind of raised my voice at him and everything like that. And yeah, she hasn't come home from work yet. I think she's probably out with her work husband. And, you know, that's a relationship, a friendship that she had before I showed up. And I don't want to make her feel like she has to drop it.
Make the work husband sound
ain't
bad.
all of them.
Because, you know, usually it ain't the work.
Them.
No, it ain't the work husband. She out with her girlfriends. See, that's
Well,
what, like, people who really out there doing dirt, then they lie. Oh yeah, me and my girlfriend's about to go get happy hour.
Now, can there be a good work husband, such thing as a good platonic work husband and a good platonic work wife? Yeah,
we've established that terminology.
It ain't always that. It really does all together. It really does. Somebody posted a meme today. I think I'm trying to think what we was talking about when you're on TikTok, and the dude is sitting there mad and frustrated, and the caption says, "When you found out your work wife had the nerve to go to lunch with her husband." I said, and you know where that comes from.
Not what I'm talking about.
See that, and that's why
that's that toxic stuff.
Now the lines have been fucking blurred.
That is toxic stuff.
But see
that door is open.
That's the post or comment from someone who has an issue with their significant other having people that they cool with it at the job.
Oh, that's a good point. Like, if your significant other has an issue with you calling or having a work husband or wife, do you end that relationship? You still work with this person. How do you go about redefining the boundaries that you should have had to begin with? But how do you go redefine these boundaries now that your partner is not feeling this relationship that you have with them?
See, so number one, like for me, the person I'm with right now, I don't think she'd be cool with that terminology either. I wouldn't use it. I wouldn't use it in a situation like that. Number two, that it should never be an issue because those lines should not be crossed.
Right.
Like I said, me and you cool, Nikki. You're not calling me at no 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. We're not calling each other like at disrespectful times or being inconsiderate of the other person's life. Now, when people do stuff like that, now you open up the door for the person to have an attitude or say, no, this ain't cool or what's going on like that.
Or go find somebody else.
But exactly. But even if you just cool and y'all have a cool relationship and it's at work, like, and I'm not even saying this in a secretive way, like how would the other person know unless you're doing things that's outside of the scope of work where you be like, y'all doing too much. What's up with that?
Or what if she comes home and talks about work husband to her husband? Or what if he comes home and talks about work wife to his wife?
That might be too much. Unless all of you are mutually cool. Because like I said, the person who got that title, we were all cool. We all hung out together. They would not only you just got my number, you got her number too. That same way with my little sister, you know. So there's certain you know when certain lines are being crossed.
Right.
And like it's certain stuff that you know. And again, that's what I keep saying. If someone's doing things in that nature that's outside the scope of work, then that shouldn't be called a work wife or a work husband, because y'all doing stuff that's outside of those lines.
Yeah, it's becoming a different
that
kind
term
of
shouldn't even
relationship.
be used because y'all doing other stuff. You shouldn't be hanging out
Right.
after work. It shouldn't be calling
Yeah.
people outside of work about things that's not work related. Like you outside of the scope.
You know when it gets bad. You know when it gets bad is when one, like, you have, let's say you have a work marriage, right? And where
Married, that's
where you
even
where
worse.
you know this is when you this is because it's about to get worse. It's about to get worse. It's about
We've
to
been
get
work
worse.
married for 7 years now.
This is
We're gonna have
And
a work
yeah.
anniversary of marriage.
this is
Oh,
it's gonna get worse. It's going to be it's a problem when you hear, when y'all are talking and y'all are cool.
Balloons
It's
at
a
y'all
problem
desk. Happy
when
anniversary.
somebody says, it's a problem when someone says, you know what? A while ago they used to be just like you. That's when it's finna get bad. That's when it's finna get real bad.
What do you mean by that?
Because
Say that again.
and you know what? In the beginning, he was a lot like you. And Nikki's quiet because she knows exactly what I'm talking about.
I'm trying to process how you're saying it. Are you saying that that's what she's saying to her work husband or her real husband?
That's what she's saying to her work husband
Is that he was a lot like you?
in the beginning.
No. Joe, you taking this off.
No.
to-
I'm going off. I'm going off.
I'm the slippery slope gets
everything
messy.
that I've tried to define.
This is where it gets.
Joe done went
So
the
you
opposite direction with
But see,
like you may be able to have a work marriage, Q, but I don't know. Joe B is putting all the extra spins
Right.
on this shit and
Like I
furthermore
said,
proving my point.
Right.
I've seen, like I said, I did call center work for more than 20 years. I've seen a lot of different situations, a lot of different dynamics. And the reason I even brought up that example, which I've seen more than once, and I've had to back away from more than one coworker once I started hearing that word, that phrasing, that word phrased in a lot of different ways. But every time I've heard that, I've had to back away because what that tells me is that there's a problem at home. And you don't want to fix that problem with the person you agreed to lay down with for the rest of your life. So now you're loving vicariously through me instead of facing him. You know what I'm saying?
Because you're getting something
and
out of this relationship besides just a platonic work friend. You're getting something emotionally out of this, I feel like.
Yeah.
And it doesn't
that's
have to
why
be personal.
And that's why to defend.
I see why y'all hate the term so much. Y'all taking this different.
Yeah.
If I took it the way y'all took it, then I'd be like, oh hell
no. Yeah. See, what I've seen, what I've been on the business end of, and what I've seen play out is that it will go past platonic, because the call center is a fantasy world. You know what I'm saying? It's a fantasy world. Your spouse doesn't have to come in. I remember when I was married, when I was in California, there was this one lady, Latria. She used to flirt with me all the time, and she knew I was married, so she knew I would never give back any rhythm. So she loved just teasing me and mess with me. Now, when we walked outside of if we ever walked out of the building at the same time, and she saw me getting into the car with my wife, there was no bullshit. There was no funny stuff. There was no nothing. Not even no looks, no nothing. She kept walking because she was just joking, having fun.
Because she would have got her ass beat.
No,
that part.
Let me go.
Don't flirt with me at work.
Let me go a little deeper.
Now, of course, Joe has to entertain this, or Joe has to stop this. You know what I'm saying?
Let me go a little bit deeper. I'm gonna go just a tad bit deeper. She's also on the cool, Joe. She was letting you know.
Yeah,
I know how to play this game if you're willing to play.
Right. So what I would do, because I'm very, like I said, I don't know when I'm being hit on. Unless a woman's flat out obvious, I don't know when I'm being hit on. So I've went from being dumb to mastering playing dumb. So my thing is when I'm in a relationship, a woman can set her watch by me. So in the case where she would be flirting with me, she'd be like, "Wow, Joe, you're looking nice in that shirt." I'm like, "Thank you. You know, babe, pick me out. I can't wear a damn thing. I can't put nothing on. I'm blind. I put clothes on. I don't know anything." Like, "Wow, you got a nice. Wow, Joe, you losing weight? Well, you know, she get me out in that gym and everything. You know what I'm saying? If I want to keep her around, I got to keep some of this off. You know what I'm saying? Little stuff like that." And she would be like, "Well played." You know what I'm saying? She'd walk away, she'd leave it alone.
Team we all day long.
Yeah.
Right. And because my thing is how you got to. I feel sometimes you have to do it. Sometimes you got to shut it down. Sometimes you got to do it that way, because if you try to shut it all the way down, it'll entice the person coming after you to try even harder. They putting up walls. And you know the type. You know the type. Oh, they putting up these walls, so that means I got to really work. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, let me play dumb and move around you, because you're gonna get bored with me. You're gonna get bored with the fact that I'm right here in front of you and you can't get me.
I'm so glad I don't have a lot of coworkers. I'm so fucking glad I don't work in these departments.
I'm gonna let everybody get the last word in, but let I guess this is the last thing that I'll say. Like I said, I've been in that environment for a large majority of my work life. Almost all, if not all. And when I say I've been in this environment, I told you how messy it was. So I know a whole lot of people who got down with a whole lot of people. And I like all of that messy stuff. Out of all the instances that I've known about, almost all, if not all, came from people who did not use that term toward one another. The people who actually use that term, because now you're allowing a light to be shined on you. And
you are.
If you sneak in and creep in and you got a wife or a girlfriend on it, you don't want that type of light shining on you. The only time that you would casually even play around with that terminology is when you know that there's nothing to it and there's nothing going on. Now, all of the other 99.9% who was screwing around, they didn't call themselves that because they didn't really want to be identified with that, because a lot of them wasn't just sleeping with that one person that was there. They were sleeping with a lot of different people, and a lot of them was married, and a lot of them had girlfriends, and some of the girlfriends actually worked in the same office. They don't want that type of light. So what I'm saying is, in that, the way we're using this term, in my experience, the probability, because we're in one instance we're so caught up with the term, but in another instance we're talking about a lot of the deficient, the wrong things that go on in those type of environments. And I'm saying it's usually not coming from those same people who use that terminology. That's my thought. And then everybody, I'll let y'all close off. T-Double, what do you got any last words, sir?
I'm still, even during this whole conversation, I'm still not down with calling people work wife and work husband. My view has not changed on that. I like everybody's opinions and viewpoints, because everybody's coming from a different space. So that's a beautiful thing. But I want to add that when meeting somebody, whether it's going to be a relationship or whatever, when I meet somebody, I really want to get to know them. And I think to myself, if I was to stop talking to this person like dating, could we still be friends? Could I do? Will I learn enough about this person and like each other enough that if we stop any of this, we could still be cool? And most of the women that I've interacted with during my whole life, I'm still cool with. There's maybe 2 relationships that I don't talk to that person anymore, but everybody else, I can call them on the phone right now. You know what I mean? So that's something I go into when I start to meet somebody. But it's great to be on here with all y'all as usual. And Joe, it's good to finally meet you this time. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Likewise.
What's your last words, Joe?
Like,
what you got?
I feel like my thing is straight out the gate. No matter what it is, be straight out the gate every single time. That way, the dynamic itself, whether or not we become friends, stay friends, whatever, there has to be a level of integrity in the connection. If there's feelings that stir up that you don't know how to deal with or whatever, talk to me or whatever, and that's it. If something changes in the dynamic, if you see me do something or whatever that makes you see me differently, tell me about it. But whatever it is, if it's an emotion or whatever kind of stuff, if I find out from somebody besides you and you could have told me, then that affects everything. As far as and I said it to say that with these, my thing is just be who you are from start to finish, and be honest with yourself. Lie to me, but don't lie to yourself. That's what it is. Lie to me, but don't lie to yourself.
I feel you on that.
Yeah.
Nikki, like, don't lie to me either. I
Don't
know
lie
Nikki.
to me either.
Like,
Yeah.
I already know what Nikki.
Because here's the thing: you can lie to me, but that don't mean I got to stay around to keep entertaining them. So in a minute, you're gonna lie to me now, and in a few seconds, you're gonna be lying to the air. But you still got to deal with you.
You know,
I don't got to be around for you to lie to me. You got to deal with you. Yeah.
Right. No, I don't like I catch the sentiment of what you're saying. Above all things, if there's a pecking order, I want you to be truthful to yourself before anybody else.
Come on,
I get that. Nikki, what's close this up?
I don't even really have a whole lot, ironically, this time. But something that Joe said is sticking in my head when it's a phrase I use often and I love too. So I'm just going to repeat it and reiterate it, that if you knew better, you do better. And I think that can be applied in so many scenarios. I think it can be applied in this scenario. I think it can be applied in any relationship scenario. I think it can be applied in slippery slope dynamics. I mean, this isn't just a work wife, work husband per se conversation, right? These can be taken to any other type of relationship too, that could raise questions, that could cause issues, that may be pushing boundaries, that may be too fucking gray for your relationship. Especially in a committed relationship, you are married. Like there's just certain things you can and can't do. Period. It just is, and boundaries have to be put in play. Being healthy, making healthy choices, being honest, being transparent, not lying, like all of those things, like, you gotta take care of home. So if you knew better, you do better. You gotta take care of home, even if home is just you, but you gotta take care of home first, and generally positive, healthy, important, valuable relationships will follow. And then you may find yourself in a position to where you can actually have a platonic friendship with somebody. And it may be the most impactful relationship that you have, with no gray area, with no fuzzy boundaries, with no slippery slopes. Like, and I think that maybe there's some people who get into these work dynamics that do just genuinely want a really good friend. But you also, you have to know what that looks like. You have to value another person first before you can look past how cute they are and want to just learn who they are as a friend for yourself. Not to say it can't happen, but I think it takes work, and all the reasons why we give examples of are certainly the things that make those challenging. But I applaud people that can have platonic relationships. I applaud people that can be honest and transparent. I applaud people that, know how to have boundaries and don't mind putting boundaries in play. Those are things that create ripples, right? Like, I know that my platonic relationships with some men have shown some of my girlfriends that this is possible. You can be friends with men and not sleep with them. Men can be friends with women and not sleep with them. Like, there's so many people who like that's a foreign concept to them. And and we've had this conversation on here before. People say, well, that's not that's not the norm. You're not the majority. You're the minority in this situation. And be that as it may, that doesn't mean that you can't partake too. That doesn't mean that you can't value people as well and develop true friendships with people. Because even if I don't call you at inappropriate times, Q, I bet I could call you at 2:00 in the morning if some shit went down, and vice versa with everybody on this panel. So. Because I value those relationships. I value being able to call y'all actual fucking friends. And I can say, in a room full of men, I've been with none of them. That doesn't mean that maybe the thoughts haven't crossed our minds, but I'm better than that. I know better, so I have to do better. And maybe that comes with age and maturity and wisdom and experience and shit like that, but I'll take it today. I love it. I value it, and friendships are important. But your commitments to your relationships are important too. So if you knew better, you do better. I'll stick with that one. And what about you? What's your closing thoughts?
Oh, I mean, I think I said it already. I just wanted to kind of a little bit what Joe said, absent of the lie to me first. I don't need you to lie to me, but in elements of that, I don't need your transparency, and I don't need you to come clean to me about everything. But what I do need more than anything is I need everyone, including themselves, to be true to themselves.
Right.
And one of those, so for instance, I don't, I'm very I'm very mindful of the terminology I use. I don't call everybody my sister. Some people I'll be like, you kind of like almost like a sister to me. And what that means is we got a brother-sister relationship, but it ain't totally platonic. Under the right situations, then you could get it. This is me being honest with myself.
This is totally you being honest, and I appreciate
that. And I'm
that.
like, so because of that,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna act like we just brother, sister, chummy.
Right.
I keep my own lines and my own distance because I know whether you know or not. And 99.9% of women have no idea about the stuff that I may have thought about them at one point in time. I'm not letting those vibes off. I keep my distance. And even when I know that, I know the potential of just the internal stuff kind of oozing out of your actions. I pull back even further. I stay away from people even further if I think or believe that I have attraction to them. Furthermore, you always got to have a higher value of why you do what you do. So my higher value is, number one, I appreciate the wonderful relationship that I have, and I'm just not willing to do nothing stupid to mess up how good I feel my relationship is. That's number one. Number two, I operate in a lot of spaces, and it's important for me to maintain that trust. So if I do go out to third base and meet Nikki and smack and go do, it ain't gonna be no problem because I ain't been on no fuck shit.
Right.
I also moderate a singles group around single people all the time. The reason I can operate in that is because I don't be on, when you're acting right, then you give the people around you reasons to trust you and not
exactly
trust
that.
You. And like, so what I said is higher importance. What I do, I take this serious. I take Freethinkers serious. I take the other shows and stuff, me moderating and how I operate. I take that serious. When I was in church, Joe knows, when I was an elder and a deacon, I take that serious.
Right.
So I wasn't going to be in, even though I was teaching the new members class, I wasn't going to be trying to screw the new members.
Right.
I took that too serious. And that's more important to me than trying to bust a nut. And I actually had people who come up to me. Like, Elder Q, man, I really appreciate you. And they told me I appreciate you because, you always been 100. You ain't never tried to pull nothing crazy on me, this and this and that, because other people did try stuff. So they appreciated at least a good representation of somebody. Be like, yeah, everybody else be trying to be on that, but you wasn't. I appreciate that. But it was more important to me to have that integrity. And like I said, we had Nikki, we had a conversation a long time ago on how to do right wrong, how to do wrong right. And one of those, and that was one of my rules, even if I was, because there was certain times I was single too.
Right.
But I wasn't gonna be messing with somebody I'm supposed to be teaching or mentoring.
Right.
I'm gonna go find somebody. I'm gonna go down to 6th Street, find somebody who ain't under my tutelage, and then look, we do whatever. Well, I go find somebody and saying, I'm just serious about the stuff that's passionate to me. I'm serious about that. I'm not stepping on the line.
We call those.
You know what it is? It's not a lot of people. It's a lot of people that will say they keep it 100. It's a lot of people that claim to be real motherfuckers, blah, blah. Where me personally, I feel, no, you're just good at just vomiting out a lot of shit ain't nobody asked for. But what we lack nowadays are people who are solid. It's not a lot of solid cats out there at all. And the same way Q is with, whether it was church or moderating a group or whatever, what it is good stewardship. You know what I'm saying? Right. It's good stewardship. That's what it is, because if a person has your attention, if I'm talking one-on-one or over, that means I have their attention, which means I have a responsibility. You know what I'm saying? As a human, you have a responsibility, and you've always maintained that responsibility. You know what I'm saying? That's all at a modicum, you've been solid, is what I'm saying.
For sure. I appreciate that after your second last word. But that's all right. I'll take it.
I try to sneak it in.
Look, he go back to the meeting and now he just want to talk and talk.
You know what I'm saying? I've been gone a couple of weeks. You know what I'm saying? I've been gone a couple of weeks.
Bring your ass.
See, that was my last word for last week. And this one.
And the espresso's kicking in. Stop playing.
All right, y'all. We come right up 2 hours. We done. Check us out next week. If you have any thoughts or ideas, we always up to talk about it. I think we got. Oh, we're gonna have to remember that algorithm thing. I definitely want to
and we obviously are going to have to do the trans age thing next week since we clearly didn't get to it.
Yeah.
Right.
So we got a couple of things that's on deck. So y'all just make sure y'all tune in.
Thank you guys for y'all's time. Thank y'all for coming in tonight and joining us and have this conversation and staying online. And anybody who watches and supports, we truly, truly appreciate y'all's time. So thank you for contributing to this. And we'll see y'all next Tuesday.
Good night.